Alright, in this video I'm going to talk to you a little bit about slope, one of the most important concepts from Algebra 1, and something that you really just have to master. I mean, there's no excuses. So in this picture you can see three lines, one of which neither rises nor falls as you move from left to right. You can see it's going through the point -1, 1 and going through the point 3, 1, so the y value has not changed. That doesn't have any slope at all, so the slope is 0. One of which rises as you move from left to right. So when you move from -5 to 10, the y-coordinate goes from -4 to 4. That is a positive slope. And one of which falls as you move from left to right. So it goes from the point 0, 3, and then you move over to 4, so you've moved from left to right, but you move down 3. That has a negative slope. So let's see what we can come up with here for slope. So let's say we have a line that goes through the points 1, 2, and 4, 7. I'm going to calculate two things here. I'm going to calculate the change in x, which we can see is 3, right? Because you move from 1 to 4, so change in x is 3. And I'm going to calculate the change in y, and I'm actually going to get that wrong right here. So the change in y, we go from 2 to 7, so it's actually 5, so I'm going to correct that. And let's do it again. So to move from the point 4, 7 to another point on the line, what I can do is I can add 3 to the x-coordinate. That'll take me to 7. And then after doing that, I want to add 5 to the y-coordinate, so I'm going to add 5 to the former y-coordinate, which was 7, and that should take me to 12. And there you go. Alright, so that's basically how you use slope. Let's see what we can do with it. So slope is our delta y over delta x, which is commonly referred to as rise over run. You'll probably end up saying that in your head about 1,000 times, maybe more. Delta y is change in y, and delta x is change in x. It's important when you meet these symbols that you know how to pronounce them so that you can talk to other people about it and know how to read it and be consistent. A more formulaic approach is to say that delta y is y2 minus y1 and delta x is x2 minus x1. So we have the ordered pairs x1, y1 and x2, y2 in this scenario. And to kind of summarize before we do a couple of problems, we have delta y over delta x is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. The letter that you commonly use to denote slope is m, so get used to that. M is slope. Alright, let's jump ahead here. We have a problem. Find the slope of the line through 6, 4 and 15, 20. I'm going to do that 3 different ways. So I immediately jot down what slope is, and now I'm going to fill in. So I do 20 minus 4, so that's delta y, my change in y. If 20 comes first in the numerator, then 15 must come first in the denominator. I have to keep the ordered pairs together. Now I'm going to simplify, and I get my slope. Now I didn't need to start with 20 in the numerator. In this case, I'm going to start with 4 in the numerator. So 4 minus 20. If I start with 4 in the numerator, I have to start with 6 in the denominator. So 6 minus 15. Simplify that, I get negative 16 over negative 9, which we know simplifies to 16 over 9, so same answer. And then finally, I'm just going to, kind of what I did on the previous page, I'm just going to plot the points. Find a change in x is 9. Find the change in y is 16, so delta y is 16, delta x is 9. And rise over run is 16 over 9. It's the slope again. Alright, so 3 different ways, all of which worked. Let's see what this question brings us. So we have a line through the points -5, 4 and 12, comma k. We don't know what k is, but we're probably going to want to find it. The slope of the line is -4. So yes, the problem is to find k. No surprise here, start with slope. I know the slope has to equal -4. So I start with k in the numerator, so k minus 4, that's my delta y. Now I have to start with 12 in the denominator, so 12 minus -5. And I know that's going to equal -4. So k minus 4 over 17. 12 minus -5 is 12 plus 5, which is 17. I'm going to multiply both sides by 17. And then finally add 4 to both sides. And so I get k is -64. So the slope formula can be used to solve for things. Let's see what the next problem brings. We have a line that goes through 3, 2, and 8, 12. It also passes through the point w, comma -2, and I want to find w. So, shockingly, I will start this with slope. So 12 minus 2, start with 12 in the numerator. I have to start with the 8 in the denominator. And now I'm going to use the point w negative 2 and the point 3, 2. So negative 2 minus 2 is the change in y, w minus 3 is the change in x. Simplify a little bit. And now I'm actually going to simplify a little bit more and cross multiply and distribute, and so I've added 6 to both sides, then I divide by 2 and I get w as 1. Now I could have used, to find the actual slope I don't have a choice, I have to use the 2 points that have all their coordinates, but what I could have done is I could have used the point 8, 12 rather, so I'm going to do the problem again doing that. So I get my slopes. So I'm just trying to show you that it doesn't matter how you approach it as long as you're consistent with what you do once you get involved in the problem. So I distribute the 2, and I subtract 16 from both sides, and then I divide by negative 2. So I get w as 1 in both cases. And let's take a look at something else. So I want to find the relationship between x and y if the line, I forgot the word line, passing through negative 2, 3 and 8, 4 also passes through the point xy. This is almost exactly the same problem as what we just solved, except now instead of having one variable and one constant, or knowing one of the coordinates, in this case I don't know either, it's just the point xy. So let's do this. So y minus 4 over x minus 8, that's one form of the slope, and then 4 minus 3 over 8 minus negative 2. So I've written the slope two different ways, and the slope has to remain constant, so they must be equal to each other. Do a little simplifying. I'm going to cross multiply here. Distribute. I'm going to add 40 to both sides. Now I'm going to divide both sides by 10. And I end up with y equals 1/10 of x, because x over 10 is 1/10 of x. And 32 over 10 actually simplifies to 16 over 5. Divide everything by 2. Now I could have done it the other way. So I'm just going to demonstrate that. And as long as I am consistent, I will get the same answer both ways, which is kind of a good way to check, although a better way is just to make sure you don't make mistakes. So I'm adding 30 to both sides, dividing everything by 10, and I end up at exactly the same place. Something that's interesting to note is that in both cases, well, I ended up with the same answer, but the slope that I found by using the 2 points I know ends up as the coefficient, which is the number in front of x, and that's going to be important for us. That 16 over 5 is also going to be important, but for different reasons. So that's a little bit about slope, and I hope you found it useful.